G'day, it's Dave here, Dave Mills, with another exciting discussion. Problem number 17 is my favourite problem in this series, in many ways, because I've used it with beginners as well to discuss the type 3 energy about alternation. Now, alternation could be hitting two or more points at once, or which like in a double attack with a knight, or it can be alternating, as in alternating against two centers of gravity. All right. Now, in one center of gravity here is the king can't move, so check is mate. So all the queen has to do is get to HA, and that's checkmate. And so black is aware of this. Okay, this is a major cog. The queen is being pulled towards the king, and that means the queen here is being pulled to the king to defend the king, and unless they blunder. And so one king has a queen harassing, and another queen is defending the D pawn. And we see how white has a pawn in their half, furtherance, forwardness, versus the D pawn. Black's D pawn is actually quite backward. It's quite a target. It's definitely under attack. So there's a minor cog and a major cog, two weaknesses. So that means type 3 is in play here. So to accelerate your position, and also if you force them to defend, one piece cannot defend two things. You just alternate and destroy it. So it's the principle of two weaknesses, principle of two fronts. So this is type 3 at its very heart, and type 1, type 5. Furtherance, that advancing that pawn, they're all at play here. Now, at the basic level, there's the 5 rings: king safety, loose pieces, loose or semi-loose, misaligned pieces, barrages and batteries. Now, we only have the queens on the board, but that doesn't mean you can't have batteries and so on. Now, the queen is defending the D pawn. And so the advanced D pawn there at D5 is actually threatening to become a passed pawn. So queen G8 is just the obvious move, threatening queen H8 mate. That's all you have to do, is tuck the queen in the corner, checkmate the king. The king has no flight squares, so it's absolutely crushing here. So after the queen moves to G8, well, obviously, what is the weakness of that move? It gives up the 7th rank. So the black queen has to defend against the mate. It's the only solution. Advancing the pawn just doesn't work. It looks stupid. So you're going to lose 2 pawns just in the blink of an eye, and your king's going to still be exposed. And so you'll now have 2 connected outside passed pawns there, and it's going to be very, very difficult for black to make any headway. So obviously, the queen goes to C7. The queen moves to H8 check. So now we've attacked the major weakness. When you have 2 weaknesses, it tends to be you go after the one that has the least defense. But also in general rule, in a situation like this, you go to the major cog, the king. So queen H8, queen on C7 moves to H7. And now this is the alternation part. It's like a car swerving around the corner. The queen has swung over to H8. Now she swings over to F8, check. All right. And now, because obviously the king can't move to G5 because the pawn at H4 blocks it. So it has to be queen to G7. And now you can lop off the D pawn. And there's nothing that can stop you from lopping off this C pawn, and even the E pawn. So I mean, like, once that D pawn goes, it's an avalanche. It's a complete disaster. And so queen takes D6 and wins the game, and it's a beautiful example of alternation. And type 3, it's we see it in master play all the time to great advantage, and the beginners and even club players, they miss it all the time. They'll exchange, play for the mate, queen to g8, queen c7, queen h8, queen to h7, the only move, and they'll miss the alternation. They'll just capture the queen and push the g pawn and just wonder what happened to all their energy. To take is a mistake. To exchange, you're losing material. It makes it very drawish. But in this position, it's actually winning for white because of the two weaknesses. And the queen, she's given up her place defending the king, and it's going to pay a horrible price for it. The white king's much safer than the black king. It comes down to that. So see if you can actually apply this to your game straight away. Listen to the audio while you're playing on live chess or chess.com or somewhere. You're playing chess somewhere, and online. Immediately, listen to this in the background while you and use those things that we've been discussing. Also, obviously, because the king is trapped, that's a huge weakness, and because that pawn can't be that d pawn has no base pawn, it can't be defended on either side. Ultimately, it's backward and it's a semi-loose. It's only got one defender, which is the queen, and the king has no defender. So the defender doesn't have the time to defend the king and defend the pawn. You can actually, in another way of saying it, after queen to f8 check, the only move is queen g7 at this point because the king can't move anywhere else. And so what's actually happened is you've attacked the king check and the loose d pawn. So what that means is you've actually alternated. You've attacked two points at once, and so that's another type 3/4 that's going on here. All right, well look, take care, and I hope you enjoy. Press the doobie-doos, do all that fun stuff, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.